How y'all be? Y'all know what time it is. My fellow hairless minks of the blue sea. It's me, y'all. We back at it again. Another hot and fresh fire chapter for the fourth or fifth league in the world. Pozuano Oda is on a tear right now. It just Aaron Judge time. That's just I guess that's he just I'm gonna try to contain the hype and keep it concise, but y'all already know I'm gonna try to keep it shorter. I know, analytically speaking, y'all like the longer ones. I guess today's kind of podcast. I didn't really think about it from that standpoint, but at the same time, I don't know. I be feeling like I'm taking too much time, but it's these chapters just been really wild. Like it just is. 1061, man. Egghead, the Island of the Future. Shout out to Dr. Robotnik. And shout out to the hedgehog in a echidna, zoan, or cyborg that we will see before we leave. And that's all I'm going to say. Cover story. Germa double six. Ooh. Voila. They're flying away. I don't know where they're going, but they're flying away. Maybe that we cross paths with them at some point just because the techno wars are beginning, right? Given where we are now and the fact that the Seraphim seem like they possess technology based on judges' findings with lineage factor, and all that good stuff that we know about already. Other than that, that's really all I can think about with them because Judge himself, Mr. Top Five Never Alive, his plans haven't really changed much. He just couldn't get there with using Big Mom. It doesn't change his stance on whatever he was trying to do. It doesn't change the fact that they're not part of the world government in a sense, right? We found out what happened, during Reverie with them, specifically the drama. And in a way, they're outcasts. 99% of the world thinks they're some great force, and the 1% knows that they're at the bottom of the 1%. So we'll see. Anyway, we had Luffy saving Chopper and Bonnie thanks to Ittori. Water slash, whatever you want to call it, aqua, whatever style this is, it's just water, but at the same time, it's Zoro who knows if that's a hint or not, right? He just stole fire style from Kinemon. It was no, we don't know. It is probably not important. But what is important is that Oda said, you know what, I know Shark Week was a couple of months ago, but we're going to have Shark Week this week with Megalodon, or whatever we're going to call this, right? Mechnado 2, the Mechaning. Because we see a giant shark under the sunny that's when it comes out, we see it's definitely robotic in some way. I don't want to say it's purely robotic. I thought it was during the chapter for the most part until the end of the chapter. Well, I guess I'll talk about that then. But look, man, Sunny can take some damage, but this thing is a force, right? And one of the things we used to talk about with Jinbei was not just being a helmsman, but the fact that he doesn't, in these situations where we're on the water, which the One Piece world is mostly water like ours, even more so because it's so much bigger, um, there was going to come times where Delphi users are going to be in the water and they can't do anything. And it can't always be Zoro and Sanji, right? Nami hasn't got to Moses level yet. Now we've seen, at least through the anime, I don't think I remember that happening during the fight, but Prometheus could go underwater. So Zeus should probably be able to do the same, even more so, right? But other than that, she has no way of dealing with helping someone like Luffy or Robin, Brooke or Chopper. It's just tough break. But Jinbei, United of the Sea, the boss Jim Boski, right? That's his area. It's not just being a helmsman. This is the same man who found a poneglyph at the bottom, at Bikini Bottom, basically, right? And took it to Big Mom. Anything in the water he can do. If he can't do it, it probably literally can't be done in the series, until we see it. Because he's not Neptune, but as far as I'm concerned, he's King of the Fishermen. So, you know, the stuff he did in this chapter was pretty cool. It's like he fits in perfect for these types of situations. Because now, the Sunny during this time is like, we just gonna go, right? That's the name of the ship. We're just Sunny go. We need to get out of here, we get going, just like back in Whole Cake Island. And things of that nature where he hits the propellers. We gonna get out of here, and they kind of do. But then the shark uses a shark torpedo, which I'm surprised Oda didn't make the torpedo look like a shark. But it reminded me of the panel from Return to Reverie with Princess Kimone, who we just saw last week. I brought her up because of the situation with Law, like being one of the only characters with a submarine in the series for whatever reason, and the advantages that gives him. And even though I don't know how his submarine is powered, if it's nuclear power, it kind of makes sense if you think about Law's abilities. But I was thinking this chapter, like, what if Lost Submarine was either made by or the designs, right, were created by Dr. Vegapunk, and that's why we haven't seen many subs in the series except the handmade sub from Return to Reverie arc. Other than that, the only way ships can go underwater is if they're being coded, with the exception of Law. But that's, not to get too sidetracked, but that's what I was thinking about. Like, because this is the only ship vehicle we've seen be able to function underwater at this level. The shark has fast movement, right? From the time that Jinbei went to the bottom of the water, well, not the bottom, but he swam down to save Luffy, Chopper, and Bonnie. By that time, and what happened with the Sunny, by the time Jinbei came back up, the shark was waiting for him. And then right after Jinbei dived back to the ground, the shark just said, "Okay, I don't care about Jinbei, and I see the Sunny underwater. I'm gonna go for that instead." And it's just licking his lips like like he was at the club at last call. Like he's next thing you know, we see a giant look like something Frankie would make. But we have to think about the scale of size, how big this is. If you just think about how big the Sunny is, and it just one shots the shark. Now I thought somebody was piloting the shark, especially because of the way the chapter ends. But again, that's probably not the case based on Dr. Vegapunk's statement or the representatives Dr. Vegapunk. But I just thought like, whoa, this is kind of cool. We're getting that fun adventure. Like I know Jinbei should be able to go that fast, that distance, that quick. She's supposed to be able to do that, but that doesn't mean it isn't impressive, right? Like Steph Curry's supposed to be able to make threes. It doesn't make it less impressive every time he does it. Um, but yeah, that's what I was thinking about because the ship was upside down, so they were underwater, thinking like some of them, they can hold their breath, but only for so long. Like we see Zoro load different fishermen, but that's way different from trying to steer a ship, because Frankie was talking about, or Jinbei was talking about the current later, like how strong the current was. And if you think about the size of these machines, that's what's gonna happen, right? Like that's just normal. But yeah, that was dope because, like I said, the other robot Gundam, Water Gundam Hero Yui, he Randy Orton his way into that fight. Really did. But after that, we cut to supposedly a nearby island, unnamed, right, where we see my man Chris Tucker, right, Detective Carter, G14 classified. What is it good for? Don't get DMCA. Like, we see that island. Now, look, I'm only going to talk about this because y'all know how much I trash Sanji for being a sim smoker. One woman in this series that Zoro has simp for is Kuina. So, let's just get that out the way right now when I see Tashigi, right? You know that they're going to cross paths, right? At some point, right? Because we see her and how punk hazardous this arc seems like it's going to be, as far as plot points and structure. Maybe not completely, but just the vibes of adventure and science, the boundaries of science being pushed in the series, which we've been talking about that, especially as things ramped up with Queen, and then now we got the Germa and the Seraphim and things of that nature. We're going to learn about Devil Fruit. So we were going to come to this point. So when we seen Tashigi, I thought like, you know, she's gonna. What if she asks? This is a terrible thought. I'm sorry, I thought this, but you guys know how my mind works to an extent with these lines. Tashigi, I thought, what if Tashigi asks Zoro when she sees Zoro? Right, one, she may recognize Enma. She might have seen it before in a book. Who knows? Right. Even back in volume 60, I used to talk about how it was hinting towards sword might exist because of cover chapter artwork and stuff like that. Even though you got to take it with a grain of salt. There's actually a cover chapter with the Shigi holding a sword and Kobe's there with a book. This was back in like 570 something, but she's gonna be like, "Yo, where's that? Where's Shusui? If we get the flashback of Zoro visiting Ryuma's grave because it's a Shigi. Oh, we gonna box homie. Best believe that's a whole Shimosuki village. You gonna have to see me, man. I can't do that one, G. Don't do us like that. Whether you save it for a power up or we never get it in the series, don't just not the Shigi, man. Not like this, man. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate the Shigi, but at the same time, it's just like the Shigi is whatever, man. Like I still don't know why she looks like Queen. It is what it is, but I'll never forget this Zoro. How hard he was simping. Like it was pretty bad, right? Obviously we know why, but still, it still happened, man. So we gotta admit our faults, man. We gotta admit our faults. And but he did give her Zoro did give her a hard little bar back at Punk Hazard, right, with the Monet situation where he was like he said to Monet and Tashigi at the same time. Like, this is why Zoro's the GOAT. When they were acting like what Zoro would and would not do. Like, what? Hey, look, ladies, are both of you pleased now? I'm like, yes. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, Zoro, man. You know what time it is, man. Sometimes it has to be that way. It is what it is. But anyway, Tashigi right after she's shown medicating the kids, the old crack babies from Caesar's experiments back at Punk Hazard, we turn to a new character, G4 Commander, Vice Admiral, which you usually don't want Vice Admiral being attached to your introduction, but maybe there's an exception here. Vice Admiral Dahl complaining to Tashigi about Helmeppo. Now look, a lot of y'all simp smokers, man, I can already tell this is gonna be a sweaty chapter, man. This is a sweaty chapter. Like I just Oda needed a break, and I can already you can already see where his mind's at, man, with this chapter, what he wants to do on his break. Cause look, all I'm gonna say is because we can't see the full view. If Doll is like on some Black Maria type stuff, I already know some of y'all are not even gonna care because y'all don't even care about half woman, half spider. So why would you care about anything? Let me stop clouding y'all, man. But she did have the vibes, like not Domino, but that other lady back in Impel Down, one of the guards. I forgot her name, but she has. You know what I'm talking. What kind of vibe I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. But they're talking about Helmeppo. She's talking about Helmeppo complaining about, the Pink Mamba situation. And Tashiki's like, well, yeah, you should expect that. That's his best friend. That's his homeboy. Like, that's his day one. Helmeppo's been trashed the entire series, but that's Kobe's homie. So it is what it is. And Helmeppo being in Sword, I didn't necessarily see coming. I didn't assume just because Kobe was in Sword, Helmeppo would, and it kind of changes things for me, like who's in Sword, who's not, just by Trash Meppo being in Sword. Because he's absolutely trash. Like I don't know. I just never liked him. I just like Kobe. You could see what his like, unless Kobe hits a guy, you can see what his potential is supposed to be in the series. You know what I mean? So you're like, okay, I'm not the biggest Kobe fan, but I don't hate the guy. He's just, he's neutral. He's whatever. Like, but with Helmeppo, I feel about Helmeppo the same way Luffy responds every time now, where he hears about Buggy D Yonko, where he's just like, not feeling it, bro. But anyway, he's basically giving it, like, requesting to Prince Groose, who I'm pretty sure this is the dude from the cover story, right? Back with Gang Gang Capone and Chiffon and all that, when they was running around and Pound, and they were back in Dressrosa, like when we saw the statues, and one of them was Lucy. Now, this is the same cat. So he's a rear admiral, I think it was. I know he was an admiral in his title, but he's a part of Sword. So you see not every character that we just got introduced. Like Doll is just G14, but she's not in Sword. And kind of like I might be reading into this part. Um, when Helmeppo asks Bruce, he's like, "Are we all on the same side?" Now I don't know if that's just one of those things people say, like when you're at work, your coworker, "Hey, I know it's Friday and we're about to get off work. Could you help me move tomorrow?" Like it almost sounds like one of them moves. Like I don't know if he means that or he means something different. As far as like sword being its own thing, but they're in my eyes, at least the way they're portrayed, they're supposed to be separate from the world government. That's why Extract responded the way he did to Cypherbolt being in Wano. Or like, yeah, they work under the same umbrella technically, but they're separate. They definitely don't want anything to do with the world government. And the theories behind that I won't jump into now, especially with Akainu and stuff. But just understand that that situation does occur with the split in the Marines in the future. It seems like something that's going to happen from the world government at least. So here's the thing, man. He says to Prince Bruce, can he come with them to Pirate Island, aka Compton, or whatever city you want to plug into there? Now I understand he wants to go save Kobe, but it's called Full of Lead for a reason, homie. It's just not the place to just go running into. It's always been that way, even before our version of One Piece, right? The current story arc. This island has never, it's always been the wrong place to go. Like, that's just what it seems like it's been. Like, it's like Curry and Wano. Like, just, and unless you're that guy, don't go there. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all know. And that is fascinating to me, what Helmeppo says. Now, I don't know if Cruz being a prince is even important, but that I thought that was kind of interesting. He says, since we're near Eggport, which now we know this naval base where G14 is at, which that's where Smoker and Tashiki took the kids, right, to see Dr. Vegapunk back at Punk after we left Punk Hazard in the first place. This island is next to um, Egghead Island, and that could they deploy a Seraphim to help with this situation? Now, this probably won't be a big focus of this statement, but this pretty much says that there are Seraphim at Egghead, where we are at. And if Blackbeard clashed with a Seraphim, Kid Hawk, odds are Luffy is going to have to clash with one too. Now, Luffy's going to absolutely body this thing, probably, right? He doesn't have the same type of ability that Blackbeard has as far as getting around stuff, but it's the go we're talking about here. He's not losing to Pacifista, Seraphim, RoboCop, Gundam, Megazord, any of those things. He's not losing to any of them. You know what I mean? It could be the gun from Outlaw Star. It could be Vashta Stampede, and the go with Cope is still going to reign supreme because that's just what he does. But I do think that this is saying like, okay, before they see Dr. Vegapunk, because Luffy and the crew are split up, he might run into one of these Seraphim and he's probably gonna have to box him on the 1v1. Like it's this I'm thinking that could happen, right? But he's like, "Are you out of your mind? We're not doing that. Like, chill out, man." So I do think like had they not consulted Prince Bruce about this new character that we've seen with Kobe Hibari, they could have probably just thought that they was just gonna go to Island Full of Lead by themselves and try to save Kobe, and it wouldn't have worked out. But luckily, he was smart enough to know that he's trash and he's not going to be able to do nothing by himself anyway. And I do wonder if they're going to get similar to the Revolutionary Army. Are we going to get more on these characters before they do something where we kind of see, you know, how they relate to each other so we can understand more about Sword because we still don't know what their ultimate goal is as far as like what are they doing in the first place? Why were they created? And if they did they exist before this current time in the series? Because it's kind of alluded to with the God Valley incident that the Yonko system may have not existed, before then. It wasn't until God Valley Island that the world government had this idea, let's start balancing power. Because it's something that people, I won't say overlook, but it's really not talked about, like how much control the girls they have, even on the pirate side. Where it's like they're the ones who basically start naming Yonko. Like we had the situation with what Big Moves Morgans is doing now, but I think this is still something new to the series. Like back in the void century, they probably weren't Yonko. They probably were people out there who operated in that kind of facility, but they weren't used as a power balance, right, against each other while the world government just sits back on some puppet master type stuff. Because that's basically what they. It's part of the reason why they let the Yonko do what they do. Clearly, the scene from Lelouch, I don't care how strong you are, you're not dealing with that by yourself. Like, you're just not. If that goes to Totland, there is no more Totland. We don't know how big Lelouch is, but it vaporized an entire, just like that. Like Big Mom's powers can't even do that. So the tech being on the same level as strong characters now is in the series, which that's something we always wanted because up until this point, the technology is so inferior to the characters, where it's like, how is it supposed to play a threat other than being having massive volume, like with the Beast Pirates, where they're really not all that strong. It's just their volume. You know, you act whoa, no, 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 and that's it. You know, and the rest were scrubs. This tech is different. It's on a different level. So I do like that. But that's the kind of stuff I was thinking about. But I was just like, man, that's kind of interesting. And then the fact that he mentions that we can't really be messing around right now because we still haven't heard from X Drizzy Dracums. And I'm like, yo, we've had quite a few time skips since Wano, like even within Wano, since the last time we saw X Drake. I'm like, yo, it's been like 2, 3 weeks in their world. Like they still ain't heard from him. I don't think X Drake is dead. What I do think though, because Sword was introduced with him, like the higher ranking members of Sword, because like I said, Groose is probably not the lead dog of Sword. I don't really think he is. But since we're probably going to get a few more characters, and then we're going to get X Drake last. And where I think X Drake is, I think he hits the rival law, like what Marco did with Shanks, just because the interactions in Wano seemed a little iffy. And I'm not even talking about Law being in Sword right now. I'm just talking about that trade or whatever it is that they did, right? And X Drake did what he did so Law could get around Hawkins, right? In that situation. So it's just like it would make sense if Drake was trying to lay low, and then you still have the situation with Apu and what he's seen with Cypher Pole. Is that in the paper somewhere? Where is Apu at? You know what I mean? So it's like Drake might be really trying to lay low on purpose, and I'm just pretending to be dead for the time being, where I don't even contact y'all. We've seen spies do that in spy situations where sometimes it's just best to let everybody know you're dead, or at least think you're dead. And that might be what X Drake is doing, but I think he might be on a lost ship. I really do. That's just my idea about it. So now, Two Belt Bonnie, shout out to the boy last. Two Belt Bonnie is sitting there with Luffy and the boss Jimbowski and Chopper, right? And they're kind of getting acquainted, and they're sitting on the island. We can't see the whole island yet, but they're sitting on this little cliff, and they're drying themselves off. And Bonnie's like, "Hey, we're enemies," and I'm like, "Bonnie, are you enemies like how Law and Luffy are enemies, or what is it?" It's like I know she's still probably pissed off about Saba, Odi, and Zoro, but come on, man, like Luffy hasn't probably caused you that much trouble. And then I thought about it. I'm like, because of the situation with Kuma, right, and ties to the Rev, even though she's probably not the revolutionary, she probably knew who Luffy was way before they met, just based on the dragon thing, where it's like they might not have to know each other, but everybody knows dragon. You know what I mean? Like it might have been one of those things where Bonnie, depending on how old she really is in the situation with the Sorbet Kingdom, she might have more information than we think she does. You know what I mean? So they're sitting there talking, and Bonnie's like, yeah, you saved me back there. And Luffy's like not even really paying attention because he's playing in the water with Chopper. Because that's like, especially at a time like this, like I said, this was a sweaty chapter for y'all Sim Smokes out there. Um, Luffy don't care about that. I've brought this up. I think I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Um, other unless he's in a group with Usopp and Chopper, because Chopper's not even reacting to Bonnie. We've seen like Chopper react randomly to humans. So I was like, okay, that's pretty normal for Luffy, but Bonnie doesn't understand. He calls her Bogey, which is hilarious because if you know what that word means, name slash word means in other languages. It's hilarious, and it just reminds me of some old coworkers I had a long time ago. Where fun times, shapala shapala. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. Bonnie brings up something important, a question that we had that I didn't know was going to get answered, or I'm like, this better not be in a Viva card or SBS or something, man. But bringing up Gear Fifth and the white hair, because Bonnie is like, "Where's your white hair? I thought your hair was white now." And I think there's a statement that slipped in here again, like the Helmeppo statement about the seraphim. Bonnie says that the paper made a big deal about his hair being white. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, well, why is that? Why would they make a big deal about that? So that means there's other crazy information in the paper that Robin didn't mention. It could be because it's something she's not aware of either. This is probably only a select few in the series that even have any idea on why that would be a big deal. But I don't know if it's just like a I don't know. I don't know why they would think the white hair is a big deal without other news being attached to it. So last chapter when Robin was like, "Do you want to know anything else?" and Rufy was like, "I'm good." And it's like, man, see, this is what I'm talking about right here. But I thought that was cool. And then Luffy just basically gives the most Luffy answer ever at a period, right? That's just what I look when I'm totally free. I'm like, yeah, man, I can't stay older sometimes, man. Like we just, of course, like Luffy knows what awakening is, man. We just gonna sit here and have him do this to us right now. Like, you, we gonna box one day. I swear, man. I'm gonna box an old man, man. Because what he does sometimes in some of these statements, where it's like, okay, you think you're funny. You know, like, even Bonnie is like, "What are you talking about, bro? What do you mean? What is that supposed to mean?" I'm like, Bonnie, I don't know either. Why don't you ask Oda, man? But anyway, after that, after Luffy explains the whole Gear Fifth situation, that pose he was doing was interesting because I'm like, usually Luffy doesn't change what he looks like for gags. Like every time that happens, it's because somebody hits him, or Amazon Lily, or situations where people like mess with his face and stuff like that. He doesn't really do what he just did right there. I like it because I think it's like Oda just playing around with new stuff. But that pose, I'm like, I don't know if that's tinfoil time, but I thought it was interesting. I did notice it, and, especially after talking about that's just what he looks like when he's totally free. And then you think about last chapter where we didn't talk about it. He talked about it to the crew, but we don't know about his dream and stuff. So when we see the character development outside the battlefield, that's to me that's where it usually hits the hardest because it's not out of desperation to win at something. It's like your own, it's just different. I'll just leave it at that. But I thought that was I thought it was cool that Bonnie had the same question. So that's how I know Oda be playing games. He knows what we want. But after that, right after they're talking about that, basically Jinbei asked her something to the effect of, "Where's your crew?" And Bonnie said, "I came here alone." So another statement that's like we can imply something. Okay, she wasn't with Sabo when they left Marriage of Wall. She probably left on her own ship by herself. And when we seen her at during Return to Every arc, she was by herself. Now I always thought that Bonnie didn't have no crew because when Blackbeard um, was going to turn her into a Akainu for a ship, he was going to trade her for a ship. Her crew got caught too because remember they were just sitting there like, "Bonnie," and I just assumed they all went to Impel Down and they never were free. But Bonnie was somehow a Kainu when they explained to me why Bonnie's free. But anyway, that just kind of leaves that out, and it also makes it sound like even though she crossed paths with the Rev, she might not have been at Lugia. Because remember, last chapter we couldn't tell if this was after effects from Lugia, but Bonnie had been chased by the same shark that attacked the Sunny. That's basically what had happened to her, which will make sense at the end of the chapter when we see Dr. Vegapunk. And as soon as she starts explaining, like, no, 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 that monster back there, the same one, it ate my ship. So that's how she ended up soaked, drowned in the water in a little water ball. Now I don't know why it was a bottle of water. I really don't understand that part, But that's what happened, I guess, because of an explosion with like all the water turns hot, and hot and cold, tornadoes, blah blah blah. Like hot and cold usually make some crazy stuff happen. So I'm like, all right, cool, fine, that's fine. But it kind of leaves out, like, well, not leaves out, but we still don't know what's up with Vivi then, because if Vivi's not with Bonnie, maybe Vivi knew what happened to Bonnie. I mean, Bonnie knew what happened to Vivi. I don't know. I don't know if how they cross paths at all, other than the implications of Kuma, right? So if Vivi wasn't with Sabo or Lelouch, and Vivi wasn't with Bonnie, where is Vivi? Vivi might really be in the hands of the world government right now for some reason that we don't know why. As Mr. Sama wanted her. It's just what we can think. It has to be ancient weapon related, or the fact that she's part of the Nefertari family, and she's the last of the bloodline in a sense, as far as that part's concerned. So with the world government's fixation on erasing people from existence, maybe they want that family's name to be, the same thing that happened to Lelouch and O'Hara. They want that to happen to the Nefertari family too, because Cobra is asking the wrong questions, and this might not be the first time her family has done that. So maybe it's like kind of fated for them, to be that type of family where they're going to ask questions. And the fact that they had access to an ancient weapon or information to it and didn't even know it, it could be based on void century type stuff as far as their own family bloodline is concerned. So they bloodlines have, like how we seen in Wano and in the series in general. Sometimes that is a problem, right? Who you were born by, like Ace and things of that nature. So that's kind of what I was thinking about, and that was funny because Luffy asked, like, where are the restaurants? Let's get something to eat, because Bonnie made the mistake of bringing up food. And then she's like, food? We on Egghead Island. Ain't no food here. This is government. You don't want to be here, son. This is enemy territory. And Chopper's like, bro, Luffy, do you have any money? And I'm like, did he know he talking to? Did he just ask Luffy for money, man? Asking Luffy for money is like asking Zoro to use Google Maps or something. Like you're not gonna get the result that you're looking for. It's Arrow 404 with that one, man. It's still funny to me that he asked him, because the boys will be boys, man. Now Egghead Island looks like a giant cracked egg with planetary rings around it. And with Luffy's fixation on understanding that the most important place is always at the very top, where they are now, if they're at the bottom, odds are that's where they're going, right? That's just where Vegapunk's lab might be at the top of the egg. I don't know why the mountain looks like that. Well, I guess hopefully we'll find out. Who knows? But I don't know, man. Like there's some cool stuff that happened, and we just think about it. We even got to the craziest part, right? 500 years into the future, finally shows up, man. We see some Iron Giant Vega Force, which also makes me think that Dr. Vegapunk also has access to space, or has had access to space. Just using that word made me think about it like that. I know it could just be like a, Power Rangers, Voltron type of thing, but calling it Vega Force, right? It might be a land, sea, and air application to that, right? That we're not aware of, because the odds that Vegapunk doesn't have something that flies is really low, in my opinion. If this character is always pushing the boundaries of science and nature, there's no way flying machines doesn't involve that. If Big News Morgan has a hot air balloon and Law has a submarine, right? And we see in this chapter the shark is like a submarine too, then it's possible. I mean, and they'll have the Arc Maxim. Vegapunk could build something like that too. I'm just saying. So it's possible they've been to space already and just ain't talked about it in the series. I don't know if the series will ever go that route, but the possibility is still open for the time being, right? But we see the Sunny with Iron Giant Vega Force, and we see how big this thing is, massive compared to the Sunny, and the way it's holding it. I'm like, is this gonna be the bird cage? Is this the Kazan bow? of this arc. Is that what we're doing? You know, where Vegapunk wants the Sunny for some reason. Because I'm like, yo, it might have been another reason besides what we thought why Kuma was allowed to be able to protect the Sunny during the time skip. Because Dr. Vegapunk wanted it. Why it never made it from Sabaody, it never moved from that spot, who knows? And if you think about the way Dr. Vegapunk, if this is Dr. Vegapunk and not a clone or some representative, because Vegapunk's supposed to be old, but who knows with One Piece at this point. Um, it's very possible, right, that they want this, that she wants the Sunny because of what she said, going back to Bonnie's ship. The shark was only supposed to be doing one thing: scouting, reporting, firing. But it's been eating the ships lately, which means I can't salvage anything. Which says to me Dr. Vegapunk is an opportunist and maybe like chaotic neutral where she just wants to create stuff. He or she, we still don't know yet, but just wants to create. Kind of like the backstory of Frankie was watching with what you create and how it can be used. Vegapunk might not care. You know, it might not even be a bad character. It might be like a Rick Sanchez type of thing, but a more wholesome version of Rick Sanchez by One Piece standards. It might be something like that where she just makes stuff. She doesn't think about anything else but that, pushing the, like what Mayuri said, perfection existing. Like, I despise that idea because there's no improvements, there's no new discoveries, there's nothing. The road is just over. So Dr. Vegapunk might be, scientists and sometimes are portrayed in this manner because that's kind of what your mentality has to be to even want to be something like that, right? Where you're studying the same thing people have studied since existence and you're trying to find something new or find some way to use it that add pieces to the puzzle that got us to where we are with technology and understanding as a whole. So, like, if you think about the introduction, right, where Dr. Vegapunk is like, you know, I work for the world government. You pirates are naive. This is the part that makes me think similar to like with Caesar. She's gonna capture the Sunny because she wants the Sunny. She's just too lazy to go get it on her own, type of thing or something. But now that it's there, right, she can take parts from it. Probably Dr. Vegapunk knows about Adam Wood, and for Frankie, it might just be like seeing your teacher examine your final exam or something. You know what I mean? He's gonna go wild in this arc with all the stuff he's seen, and I wonder if Dr. Vegapunk knows about people being on Punk Hazard, right? And the situation with Mumbles Fruit, and like speaking of Mumbles Fruit, because of the way Dr. Vegapunk is talking, all them old theories about it being a failure for being the wrong color, they still seem pretty viable based on the personality. Because for Dr. Vega, what she said was, the world looks at me, they call me the scientific genius, even though I'm mediocre, which is like, that's a thing for scientists to feel that way, where all these people are telling you great, and you're just like, I haven't accomplished anything yet. Because whatever her mindset is, or him, I don't care. But like I'm assuming this is a robot of some, or this is like a Mayuri thing, emu thingamajig. It could just be a straight up Dr. Vegapunk is either Law's ability was used before Law got his hands on it, and Vegapunk's been around for a long time, right? She still could be this smart. You could still be 500 years ahead without having to live for 500 years. But it's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, this is because, like, why hide your voice as a dude? Because, like, previously it had been implied that Vegapunk was like an old guy or something. And even in this chapter, he's supposed to, like, speak in a format that's for old people. Kind of like what Chibi Chopper, Grandpa Chopper was doing during Wano. Um, I don't know about that one. But the other part that what she said was interesting to me was about the shark, because I thought somebody was piloting it. But when she first got out of the Mechazord, she said, I must have messed up the programming, or maybe it is impossible to overcome primal desire. I think that statement pretty much sums up everything that Dr. Vegapunk is on as far as a concept of pushing the boundaries of science and nature, especially because we're going to learn about devil fruits and stuff, and because they have their own will too. I think there's a reason for that statement. I think it's supposed to like help set up the character, what the Doctor Vega. I just thought it was interesting because it looked more like just a straight robot. But then we forget, if you think about what Frankie's done to himself in the Pacifista, it isn't far fetched that there's mecha animals out there too. It's just so using the shark first kind of makes sense. So that's kind of what I was thinking, and then because Bonnie said she was there on business, I don't know if that implies that she's supposed to be there and Vegapunk knows that Bonnie was supposed to be there. That's why what happened with the ship kind of pissed her off, or that the way Bonnie is saying it is like, no, I got beef with Dr. Vegapunk, or Vegapunk's gonna tell me how to fix Kuma, or is it one of those things? I can't really tell. For the time being, it's a crazy chapter, man. It's just crazy, and like I said, I'm not trying to force law into this arc, but between Sword, his submarine, hanging out in Puck Hazard, some of his tech that he gets overlooked as him being like kind of a technical character, I just with the fact that X Drake might be with him, somehow, some way, they might end up crossing paths, even if not at Egghead, somewhere in the near area, because the Seraphim are going to be a problem, right? Especially if there's like 10 of them, right? Like, I don't care how strong the Straw Hats got, or any crew for that matter. 10 of those is like, I don't, they probably can't kill Kaido, but it'd be probably even hard for Kaido. No, 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 Kaido's that. But oh, an idea I was thinking about with the Kobe situation. While I was talking earlier, I'm like, yo, what if, right? Because of what Helmeppo said and them not wanting to go there. What if Bonnie somehow, one of the reasons, or say Dr. Vegapunk asked Bonnie, I'll do this for you, but I need you to do this for me. And she has to go to Compton, aka Island Full of Lead, and either help Kobe or go there for something that Vegapunk wants. And I'm only saying this because remember Bonnie had brought up when Blackbeard captured her that she was gonna get him back in the future. So she might not be looking for Blackbeard, and she's not worried. Like, even you think like this is why sometimes I'm not sure if people know Bonnie even has an ability, because it's like, why didn't Blackbeard steal her power? Like, he was willing to give her, and Blackbeard don't get no free rides. Now he was willing to give her a free ride, but that wasn't gonna really be no free ride. So you're not getting Kobe for free either. The Pink Mamba is not. You're not getting him for free. He wants something. Everything he's done when it involved kidnapping, he's got something out of it, right? When he kidnapped Ace, well, he basically baited Ace into a fight, but he got something out of it, right? Like, he literally set that up just specifically for that reason, so he could achieve what he wanted to achieve. The same thing has to be for Kobe. Like, something about it, I feel like it had something to do with the Seraphim. When he saw the Seraphim, the fact that it was a Lunarian, it changed whatever his plans were for what he wanted to do. That's why he left. It wasn't just the Rayleigh and all that other stuff. Like, he probably got an idea on something that he had been thinking about for a while, that the existence of the Seraphim might have like verified something for him where he like, oh, it's time for me to do this now. So, but I would see Bonnie doing something like that, and then remember who's the last person we also see that full of that. Now that ties to another character, but there's some characters that could pop up in full of that make the story interesting, as far as things that I didn't see coming, with plot points and stuff like that. So this was wild, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it, man. I want to talk more, but that stuff has to be its own thing because we just got too much going on. Like I said, I don't know if it's Vegapunk or not. I'm kind of leaning towards no, but if it is, hey, that's cool too. And I'm gonna say this: Oda definitely reads Dadadan, or he's aware of it. Because although I think he would have did this stuff any day, I just think the timing of some of these character designs and what we're doing right now. I'm like, oh, if Oda reads done, that makes my day, man. Anyway, y'all, enjoy your weekend and your simp smoking and being sweaty. This chapter. Be safe out there. We'll talk because there's break next week. He deserves one, and like I said, based on this chapter, Otis when he come back. You know what? Peace, y'all.